So today I would like to demo this VS Code and why it is special. Yeah, this is currently it's my favorite code editor. Previously I used Sublime Text, Atom Code Editor, but currently my favorite code editor is VS Code. VS Code stands for Visual Studio Code. Uh, the best thing about this VS Code is actually it has a lot of plugins. Ada banyak plugins that can help us to manage our code better lah. Okay, so before I go to the VS Code, I would like to say something about our subject. So basically, web programming consists of three tier. Okay, three tier, what we call as three tier application. This is called the three tier application. Why is it three tier? Because when you are developing a web application, okay, we need to deal with the layer or the user layer or the user interface layer. So in this user interface layer, you need to learn about what we call as HTML. Okay, we need to learn about HTML. So the client or the browser, I mean, the user interface for the client, we need what we call as the browser as the interpreter. So normally when you try to open HTML file, you will open inside the browser. What do you mean? What do you mean by browser? For example, Chrome. We have Opera. We have Safari, and we have Microsoft Edge. So these are what we call as browser or Firefox. Okay, why we need to use browser? Because on web development, web application development, the user will be in the browser or they will be using HTML. Okay, the user will be using HTML as the interface. Okay, so that is the user part. Okay, that is the user part whereby the user will use the environment of browser. Why browser? Why HTML? Because HTML is one of the universal language that can be understood by most of the browsers. I mean, all of the browsers. Obviously, when you are using browser, this browser can interpret HTML. So on the user part, we need to develop interface using the HTML or web page. Okay, on the server side, this is where you need to have your data inside. I mean, your what we call as the logic. Okay, the logic for your application. For example, when a user try to log in, it will provide the username and password from the HTML document or the login page. So this login page will receive your username, password, and when you click submit, okay, when you click submit, this username and password will be sent to the server. Okay, so inside the server, there will be some logic or some workaround that will verify the username and the password. How they verify the username and password? Using this middleware, or currently we will be using PHP. Okay, this middleware or PHP, the PHP part or the script will check for the username and password against the information inside the database. So basically your username and password will be stored, first time will be stored inside the database. When the user requests to access the system, okay, when the user requests to use the system, you will provide a username and password, and this middle tier or middleware or PHP will basically compare the provided username, okay, with the database that has been stored inside, with the password that has been stored inside the database. So the system recognize you with the username and password that is already stored inside the database. So that's how they communicate. The user provide username and password online, okay, and send to the server, and this middleware or PHP will actually check, okay, verify whether you are the rightful user that can use the system. So that is one of the control or one of the logic that your PHP or your middleware need to do. So that's why currently we will be using PHP as the middleware. So PHP is the logic behind the system. And the third tier is your database. Okay, the third tier is your database. So basically, you need to know this part first before we jump to PHP. So that's why for today, I will introduce you to VS Code, okay, and how to edit or to create HTML page using VS Code before we go to the PHP. Okay, before we go to the PHP. PHP, maybe in a few weeks later, I will teach you, I will show you what is PHP. Okay, for now, I would like to just concentrate or focusing on our HTML. Okay, for this 2 or 3 weeks, we will cover on the HTML part, which is the interface. Okay, which is the interface. Okay, so this is what we are going to use to interpret your HTML. Okay, we can use whatever browser available, whether it is on desktop or maybe you can use your mobile browser, no problem. So what is HTML? Maybe most of you have heard about HTML. Okay, most of you have heard about HTML. So the first part of our interface, I will be using HTML, and later I will show you how to use Bootstrap. Okay, Bootstrap is actually a CSS framework to make your interface or your web page look nicer lah. Okay, and Bootstrap is important for what we call as the responsive web design. So so the responsive web design is meant for mobile. Okay, mobile device. Before you go for Bootstrap, I would like to show you what is HTML is all about. So currently we are in the fifth iteration of HTML. Okay, they said that HTML5 is actually the modern HTML format. Yeah, you can recognize HTML5 by the what we call the doc type. Doc type. So normally you will indicate the HTML5 using this tag, which is doc type HTML. So I use the term tag tag thunder. So this is a typical HTML code whereby you can have the doc type HTML. This is meant for HTML5 indicator, and you have this pair of we call this tag thunder. That's why HTML is actually, it's not a language, it's a markup language. Okay, you need to differentiate between language and markup language. HTML meant for HTML, hypertext markup language. Markup means tanda ataupun we call it tagging, or in Malay we use tanda or sign or indicator or what we call is boundary. So for instance, when you have a HTML page, most likely you need to have the title of the page, which normally encapsulated inside the title/title. So ini adalah tanda. This is called what we call as tag. So when you have when you need to have a header, so we need to mark, okay, the term is markup language. Mark. We need to mark H1 and close it with slash H1. So this is what we call as marking, marking up, markup, mark up, menandakan kawasan, menandakan kawasan. So for a paragraph, we have the pair P. This is for paragraph. P and ended with P. So this is what we call as markup language. There's no logic in markup language. There's no if else, there's no do while, there's no for each in HTML. So it's actually not a programming language. It is only a markup language. That's why we call it HTML, the markup language. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for responding. So Afiq, are you available? Afiq? Ni ramai ni. Afiq Ahmad Husaini ada? Afiq ada?
Yes, sir. Kenapa?
Ada sir.
Saja tanya khabar. How are you?
Oh, kalau baik, kalau baik.
So along the way, I will mention your name just to make sure that you are available. Okay, so in order for us to write this code, I will show you a tool named VSCode. This is basically a code editor. This is not the web. Okay, you can write anything on this VS Code. So I believe you have installed this one. Okay, you need to download from code.visualstudio.com. Code.visualstudio.com. So I'll copy this and put it inside our group. So this is our code editor, our main code editor. So you need to download from code.visualstudio.com. You click this one or click the download one. And then, okay, your download started. Now we are in current edition 1.57. Okay, 1.57. Okay, so the installer is around 70 something megabyte. Somehow, if you install this application VS Code, you will require almost 100 plus megabyte for the installation. Just simply agree, next, blah blah blah. In my case, I will install in D. My case lah. In my case, I will install in D. You can install in program files or you can install in C. But for me, I need to put it in D because I run out of space in C. So as usual, next, blah blah blah. Question start at the part. Okay, create desktop icon. Okay, next. So I install VS Code inside D. Uh, Never mind, you can use program files. You can install in program files. You can install in C if you prefer. But uh, my constraint is my C drive is full already. So I move this into D. So then I will click finish to launch our VS Code. So basically, VS Code is free, open source and free. Okay, it's open source and free. Okay, it's open source and free. So inside this VS Code, you can actually write HTML, okay, HTML tagging or HTML file. Okay, you can write HTML file. But in order for you to make your life easier in coding HTML or PHP, there are several plugins that you need to install first before we proceed. So you can go to this area, which is the extension. Extension is basically plugins lah, additional plugins. Okay, additional plugins. You can install something like the bracket colorizer. So this is my favorite one. Bracket bracket. Uh, okay, bracket pair colorizer. Okay, bracket pair colorizer. Okay, mine has been installed. So you need to add this bracket pair colorizer. So basically what it does, it colors bracket lah, to differentiate between the closing and the pair or wait, maybe I can show you. Okay, this is something that is available in bracket pair colorizer. So you see this curly bracket, you see this colored as yellow and also purple. So this is what bracket colorizer can do. So it differentiate the brackets by color. So meaning that this is the pair is here, and the pair for this bracket is here. Mean pair is opening and closing bracket. So you can see this underline. You can see that it starts here, it ends here. So go to your extension market. Okay, this is the extension part of your VS Code. You need to add bracket pair colorizer 2, and then click install. So previously mine has been installed, but currently, okay, you can see this install button, bracket pair colorizer. This is from extension. Ni kan ada gambar square ni kan, 4 squares. So go to this extension and search for bracket pair colorizer. Okay, choose the number 2, bracket pair colorizer, and click install. Okay, so that is what we call as some of useful tools lah. Okay, you can also use this HTML CSS support. So this is to help you to code in HTML, because VS Code is basically universal. Okay, it's universal. Okay, universal means you can put any plugins to help you to code in any language. You can use VS Code to code Java. You can use VS Code to code Flutter. You can use VS Code to code Android codes, might it Dart or Flutter or Ionic or Ruby on Rails. So everything is ready for you to code in VS Code. But you need to choose some tools lah to make it suitable for your language. So for instance, this HTML CSS support will help you in writing HTML code. So just install. And then one more thing, search for HTML CSS support, HTML CSS support, and click install HTML. Search for HTML. Then you can see HTML CSS support. You can see the star here, star, meaning that this is very much recommended. And click install. Okay, click install. And then, so the last one is this PHP IntelliSense. IntelliFest. Okay. Okay, you can see here when you're using PHP, this PHP IntelliSense is actually IntelliSense lah. IntelliSense will help you to, let's say, autocomplete. They will suggest you while you are typing. It will suggest you the complete method, the complete variable's name, the complete object name, or the complete class name. And then this will make your life easier in learning PHP lah, in coding PHP. So click here, install. So all these additional tools or plugin in VS Code will actually help you to code better or easier in PHP. Okay, you can code better in PHP. Okay, let me show you how to create a new project. Since we have not installed our web server yet, maybe next class we will install the web server. But currently I need to show you how to create a new project. A project means a new website. Okay, whereby inside the project you will be most likely will have your HTML code inside, or PHP code inside, or your image resources. So you can actually open your project from here, file, open folder. So I believe you have installed this VS Code, okay, yesterday. So this is where you are going to open your project folder. Okay, use this to open your project folder. File, open folder. Okay, file, open folder. You might want to create a new folder inside D. Okay, currently I will be using D. Okay, but I won't select D for our folder. So let's say I create a new folder, HTML test. So this is my new folder, HTML test. So I create new folder inside D. Okay, and I select this folder. Okay, by right, my folder is empty. Okay, by right, my folder is still empty. Kosong lah, tak ada file lah sebab memang baru create satu folder baru. So, I'll repeat. You need to go to File, Open Folder. Okay, I repeat. File, Open Folder. And then create a new folder inside D or C or desktop, whichever location that you will easily detect later, locate later. So mine, I have inside D. I'll create a new folder in D. Then just click a new folder. If you don't see this button, you might want to create a new one. Right click here, new folder. So I have a new folder which is HTML1 inside folder D drive, and select this folder. So I will open this inside VS Code as a project folder. So in order to create a new file, HTML file, just simply go to File, New File. File, New File. Select language to get started. So in order for you to select language, we need to save this file as .html. Okay, this is new file, untitled. You can see this file, untitled. So save it as .html file, save as. Okay, so you will be pointed directly to this folder, HTML1, because this is our project path or project folder. So every new file you create will be sent to this HTML1. If you don't change the project folder, or all new files will be sent to .d HTML1. So this is how they manage folder lah, or project folder. So here you might want to create a new file which extension is HTML. Make sure to save this file as .html. Or you might want to change the option as HTML. Save type as HTML. Not PHP yet. Today we will be exploring only on HTML part. So make sure this test.html save as HTML extension and save. Okay. So previously, okay, this is our typical HTML5 code structure. This is our typical HTML5 code structure. So how to create this, this typical structure of HTML into our VS Code? Simply type HTML5. HTML. You don't have to write the tag. You don't have to key in the tag symbol. Just straight away inside this HTML file, type HTML. This is a emmet abbreviation provided by default in VS Code. So when you pick this HTML5, you will see it will generate typical structure of HTML. It will generate typical structure of HTML. So make sure your file name is saved as .html. Save this file first. Okay, if you see untitled, then it won't work. It will not work when your file is untitled. So make sure to save this as .html file and type in HTML. So you choose HTML5, choose this one. In Emmet abbreviation, you choose HTML5. How to invoke this window? Okay, the first thing that you need to have you to type is HTML. So that is our Emmet abbreviation. You can see by typing HTML. No tag, no markup, just type in HTML. You can see here the Emmet abbreviation. It also support HTML5. Then you can see this is typical structure of HTML5. As similar, almost similar to the one inside the slide. So this is typical structure of HTML5, whereby it also provide this what we call as web responsive viewport. So never mind, we'll discuss this later when we discuss about Bootstrap. Okay, maybe next week we'll go to Bootstrap. So this is typical structure of HTML. Typical structure of HTML. So you might want to change the title. And you need to put something in the body. H1. You can see when you type in H1 and suddenly you try to, okay, sorry. You try to close, it immediately recognizes that it needs to close H1. So let's start again. So let's say here we have H1. Okay, see there. Okay, this is Emmet abbreviation. It proposed H1. So you just might want to enter. Okay, immediately it closed. See, I tap H1 and immediately it closed. Ada closing tu, siap-siap dia dah buat. So this is how VS Code works. It will automatically provide the close tag. When you open a tag, it will provide a close tag. So for instance, you would like to put paragraph. Immediately, it will close the paragraph. Okay. See? Yeah? Okay. Siapa-siapa nak tanya? Anybody would like to ask?
Jelas sir.
Boleh nampak tulisan dalam screen? Can you see the code inside the screen?
Nampak.
Nampak sir, nampak.
So let's say you would like to enlarge this font. You might want to go to the settings. This is the settings. And then by default, the font size is 14. Maybe you'd like to go for 20. Okay, Control S to save this. And then you can see your code slightly bigger lah. Okay, so that's it. Okay, for today's lesson, I just want to show you how to use VS Code. Okay, how to use VS Code. Since this is only a plain HTML, okay, this is only a plain HTML. You can simply use the view function here, view and open view, explorer. Wait, betul. Sekejap, tak ada. Oh, okay, open with. Open with, oh tak ada. Sorry. Maybe you want to reveal in File Explorer. Try buka dari sini lah, reveal in File Explorer. Then double click this to view your HTML code. So now you have your HTML inside the VS Code. Okay, written from VS Code. Since this is a plain HTML, no worry, you can simply run from Explorer. However, if you have PHP file, then we need the web server. So that for the web server, I need to show you how to use Laragon. So for Laragon, we will cover that in our next class, in the lab session. So you can use this option, right click, reveal in File Explorer. I believe we have the preview options, but maybe we need to install the plugin. Never mind, later. You need, so for the time being, we can use the reveal in File Explorer, and you can see this is File Explorer. This is your file test. Normally, the icon will show you as HTML page, and then you can double click. You can preview that inside the browser. So this is our file HTML written in VS Code. Okay, written in VS Code. Okay, so that's it, guys.